Yo, welcome back guys. Right, I really think this is going to be a banger of a video for you all. It started off as usual, fuse board change, an EICR for a customer for a subscriber. Things soon heated up, soon changed for us, the whole dynamic of the video changed. I think this is worth a sub if you haven't already. I think this is worth a like. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, share it around. Yeah, first for me, but please enjoy. So this entire video and day has completely turned on its head. Adam's just gone up in the loft and yeah, we all know what leaf that's from. See this? There's strings everywhere, old fishing cables, all stapled to the ceiling that go all the way across.
Yo, welcome back, Nicholas, Adam. I don't know where that came from, by the way. Someone asked, why do we say that? And I've got someone called Patrick that always just puts Nicholas, and I reply, Patrick. So if you want to comment my name below, I will then comment just your name back. We are over in Nottingham, miles away. He's paid for us to come today, to come and do an EICR in this place. He's just brought it. And then from the EICR, he wants a board change. But the EICR is to figure out if the place needs a rewire. If it does, we're not going to do the board change. If it passes, we'll get the board change done. We've got a Verso board, we've got some trunking, we've got some tails, we've got some stuff. So we're going to go around. Adam's already pulling off the fronts off, taking pictures of everything, switches, bits and bobs. I'll run you to something already that we're going to have to fix, which is in the kitchen. So the previous owner did a lot of his own electrics by the looks of it, which is very common for us. We've got a socket coming down to the isolator for the heating. So we can just put some trunking on it, make it neat. In theory, there's nothing wrong with what's done, as in electrical wise, but then because we've got single conductors coming out, nothing's clipped. That's not fun. We'll get that fixed. Oven's been changed over. You can tell it's an older property. You have an isolation switch for a cooker and a double socket on the top. So it's very common for older properties to have sort of one double socket in each room. We're going to go around, pull apart. The old board would have been an old rewirable one, but the frame was then cut out to have the original, these trip switches fitted. Fuse replacements, you can see in here what it used to be. And normally on the inside of this cover would be written what's what, but this will be this should be quite self-explanatory. Upstairs lights, downstairs lights, boiler feed. You've normally got the ring main, and then you'll have the cooker. Everything off. Isolation switch down. It's nice to have one of them for once. See, then we will prove dead. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you have to prove dead, because for all I know, this switch and this switch doesn't work, and I start handling the conductors, and I'm going to have a sore finger or heart at the end of the day. Right, my proving unit is the TIS one, and then I've got the TIS 859. So we'll stick these on the conductors. This one here, that loops up, around, down. It's this socket here. So if we've got a spare 20 amp, we can stick on a spare 20 amp. We can also double it up. Big Aldino as well. If you don't follow Big Al, Aaron his name is, on TikTok, and he's on Instagram now. A man that well and truly knows his regulations, very much like Mark Allison and Dave Savory. The Big Aldino is one of the top guys as well. And he always does little tips and tricks with regulations and explains things quite well on TikTok, where he answers your questions. And he does say, like, with there, you do have a radial circuit put into a what would be in the future 32 amp breaker. People think that's not right because it is spurred off it. It's only rated to 24 amp the cable or whatever it is, but it's actually completely allowed and within regulations as well. And he's just going a lot more depth than I could ever possibly go in to explain it to you guys. So go and give him a shout, because he's a good guy. I'm just going around with Ad, picking some stuff up. So I've shot the lounge light down because we want to try and get our R1s and R2s everywhere, ZSs, everything we can physically do, take out what we can to do our RI tests, and stuff like this. Low voltage LEDs is just going to go pop. But this is very common what we see. There's an old pendant rose that's still on the ceiling, all joined through and then linked through. Back in the day, I probably would have gone, oh, don't like that. That's not right, take it down. But in theory, you've got a solid connection, you've got a solid bar for the terminations of the cables. You've then got new link leads through to the new light. It's then all enclosed within the new unit as well, and it's earthed. My eyes, it doesn't look the best, it doesn't look the neatest, but it works and it is safe. If you want to argue with me in the comment section. I'll get Big Aldino on you. Right, here's another one for you. So, like I said earlier, we're taking every socket and switch off. you can do 50%, you can do 20%, you can do 30, 40, 50, all the way to almost 100% of outlets. Because it's an empty property and there's pretty much one in every room, much rather get them all off, figure it out. So I just took the cooker off, and this is always an interesting one when you have a halogen hob and an oven below, and you know in the back there's a cooker wedge when you've got like a 2 kilowatt oven that's wired in 2.0 cable, 2.5 mil or whatever, twin, into the back of a cooker wedge when it's off a 32 amp breaker and there's no fusing in between, and you're always a bit like, oh God, what am I going to find? But let me know your thoughts on this, because this one, I like it, Max, and I want to say that. You've got an isolation switch there, and then you've got another one there. So that isolates that. Then you have an isolation switch on top of that which isolates the hob, and then an isolation switch on there which isolates the oven. And yes, you cannot reach the isolation switches. When the oven's in and it's screwed back, it's done. But then you have the main isolation switch up there which isolates this. And then on top of it for the oven, it's then got a 13 amp fuse. I will double check it's a 13 amp fuse anytime. Oh, to be fair, I'm changing the oven over, so I have to do it on my own one anyway. But the oven's fused, the cable's protected, isolation switch, it's fused at the board to the correct setting for a 6mm cable. In theory, pen on paper, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this. Does it look the best, and is it the way I do it and not drag it into another cupboard? No, I wouldn't do it this way. So that's saying, is it stupid and it works? It's not stupid, but not the best practice. But once again, people could put that down as a not happy with that, unsatisfactory, when in my eyes there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, because you can still isolate it and it's fused. So it's a little tip for you guys doing fuse boards. So I'm jumping a bit ahead of the gun here because we've not tested everything properly. I'm just waiting for Adam, just checking in the loft. But Verso, fuse box, Hager, anything. Get your boards lined up. You've got your SPD left hand side, you've got your brake onto the right. The lid's on, it's nice and square. Take that off. Keep it in a safe place. You can see it's been buttered up there with the lips, and buttered up there with the lips, but occasionally it isn't. This is a bad example, but what I would say is if you haven't got these and it's normally spaced across, so for fuse box you've got SPDs or whatever here and there, is pretend this is on the other side, but get your pencil and make a mark there and there, which would be on the other side. I know what I'm trying to explain here. So it means when, let's say you take the entire board apart and you haven't got those notches on the DIN rail, it means when you're putting it all back in, you line up your pencil line so that you put all your breakers, your RCBOs, whatever you put in. When the lid goes back on, it's going to be squarer instead of this being slightly out and this one being too far to the left. And then you've got to rejig and push all the breakers and everything that's already been pre-wired in, and it's a nightmare with the tails already in place. But this way you're guaranteed the lid's going to go on square, and it just saves you some faff, because trust me, been there and done that and got the t-shirt quite a few times. So this entire video and day has completely turned on its head. Adam's just gone up in the loft with the ladders here to try and find if we can find this existing boiler supply. Found it, it was in the spare bedroom in the corner. We found an old grow where they used to either grow, well I presume it's weed. Adam's had a look, he come down and was like, yeah, they used to grow weed here. I was like, how do you know what weed is, Adam? He was like, I've heard about it at school. But he's come up and I will show you around, because I have never in my entire 13 years doing this ever found a grow room. And if you don't know what a grow room is, it's a room that would be fully insulated, full lighting systems, ventilation, water. I've watched Breaking Bad. Hang on, that was meth. But where they produce cannabis and grow weed, and then obviously goes off to dealers or whatever, that sort of stuff. And this is sort of telltale sign, but then this makes me go, oh, we need to check everything 1,000,000,000%, pull everything apart, IR everything, because when they do this, normally they're tapped off electricity. They're either stealing the electricity, or stuff is so unsafely wired, that's a real sentence, that it could be horrendously dangerous, especially if it's not been removed properly, or it's still been stashed away. I presume this has been in, whether it's either been raided or everything's just been ripped out. So here's the signs. So a boxed off room. There's 2 holes here for ventilation. There's one below the bricks. You have a water supply in the far corner. I mean, how many people that you've ever known, other than for a header tank, have you seen a water supply with a dishwasher pipe on it? Insulation everywhere. And then across here, you can see stapled to the ceiling. Well, you can see this. There's strings everywhere. Old fishing cables, all stapled to the ceiling that go all the way across. So this would either have been to support the plants as they were growing, hang lights off, which I presume they wouldn't have done. So that's straight away, you think, oh okay, have a bit closer look. We've found some cool ice skates in here. And yeah, we all know what leaf that's from. And they're scattered everywhere, all within the framework, all across. To be honest with you, since having COVID as of over a year and a half ago, I still haven't got my sense of smell back properly. I can't smell this. Adam says it stinks. I don't know what this is. There's two of them. Look, there's a quilt up here, you've got the water supply. Then you start looking, there's no extractor, we've got a wall extractor in the kitchen, but you've got a ventilation there, you've got one through that cupboard hole there. Coming around, there's something there, which I'm definitely going to get out in a second. And then round here, looks like it was the electricity supply. So we've got extension lead, broken extension lead, very broken extension lead. Let's do this together. Another extension lead. So this is wired into something. So that goes down there. Right. I'm going to have a look what that is, and then I'm going to punch a hole further down there, pull that panel off, and see what we can find. Right. Any idea? Solution for growth and bloom. Yeah. I don't want to pull too much of this off because I don't know if the ceiling's going to come. But you can see how many staple marks are on the ceiling of how much stuff they had hanging from down here. And it's now one of them situations has this been found out? Has this been authorities notified of, and it was raided and it was all stripped apart? Because if it was, I'm sure they would have took that big bag of stuff I've just found over there, of old plants, with them. Do I need to ring someone to let them know what's going on? I'm going to ring the landlord in a minute and let him know what the situation is, and then if he wants to then ring the police for them to come and have a look at. But this has been gone obviously a long time. It's just let's just find where the power supply is. Let's do our job first, and then we can do the other stuff. I just found the end of the extension leads, and they were actually poked through the ceiling there. So I'm going to go down and have a look. There's nothing other than a few old t-shirts in there. I presume they were just all run off extension leads because obviously people have bypassed the meter, come off the lighting circuit, come off the socket circuit, done something extremely dangerous, then we need to fix it. But if it's just run off the extension lead, which it probably was, and it was all coiled up and probably overheated several times, then we might be alright. But we're going to have a look down in the bedroom now. So that right there is the hole that the cable was poking through. So I presume it was just brought down and plugged straight in. Wow, well, that was an interesting find. Right, I'm going to have a conversation with the customer now. Adam's just gone round and changed a few sockets over because a few of the old sockets were cracked. I wish he'd put a mat down, but never mind. Well, that was a new one for me and the landlord. Very keen to check that as well. Yeah, never seen anything like that before. Good spot, Adam. I'm going to let him deal with whatever he wants to do with notifying people. It looks like it's a very old room, very old setup. The people that may have lived here or rented it before could be years ago. But anyway, that was some excitement. Adam's getting on with the testing, and we're going to get the new board on in a minute.
Changing the batteries.
Changing the batteries over and put some trunking in. Make it nice and neat. Okay, with boards on, I'll show you that in a sec. Customers here. I've had massive issues with the GoPro. My power bank keeps being plugged in and it makes the camera go flat. Anyway, you don't care. I'll show you the board. Gone on really well, really happy. Verso, once again, smashed it. Board's on, isolator, that's all new earthing arrangements, stickers. I still need to get myself some actual of my stickers done. But yeah, label maker. I'll put some pictures on now of the fuse board itself. I did some trunking down just to hide it, just to finish it off, make it a bit nicer. The customers are upstairs having a look at all the stuff we found in the loft. So it'll be interesting to see what they say. Whatever he wants to do with that. Obviously some of the stuff he's bringing out, but what we found was no way near from the pictures I've seen of people bypassing electric, stealing it, making it dangerous. There's no overcoming protection. I mean, here you didn't have an RCD. You got extension leads coiled up in a heated room upstairs that are heating anyway.
that are running probably extractors, lamps, whatever else. I don't really know how it works, but I know it's not safe, and especially with an old reliable fuse board on it, it's never going to run well. I'll leave it here. Drop a like, comment in the section below if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next one.